one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Two announcements. Well, these meetings are being recorded for our website, video recorded. So I'd like to ask the board to identify ourselves. Start with you, Bill, so otherwise they can't read our sign from this video. So,
I'm Bill Cox.
Ann Weiser.
Paul Solomon.
Art Rutledge. Jeff Reynolds.
On behalf of the board, I'd like to welcome both Ann and Art to our board. 6 years, long time. Good luck. I'd also like to announce we've had 2 executive sessions since our last meeting. One was on the 14th of December, and one was on the 29th to discuss personnel matters. In addition, I'd like to announce that we have 2 areas or 2 spots on our agenda for you to speak. One's item 8, and the other one comes at the end of the meeting. But actually, come up to the microphone and identify yourself and where you live. And we've got up to 5 minutes. Do it if you like to go over it if you need to. It's important. You all know Todd Ziegler, our manager. Wendy Brown, our recording secretary. All right. First, item number 3 is reorganization of the Board of Supervisors. And we'll start by nominating a chairman for the coming year and then a vice chairman.
I'll nominate Paul Solomon for chair for the upcoming year.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed.
Yes, I vote for myself. We have to vote, so I'll vote for myself. All right. Vice chairman, I'll nominate Bill Cox for the vice chairman.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I'll vote aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Item number 4, appointments. You all have a copy of the agenda. They're on the back of the back. It would help you if you do, I might add. Appointments, recording secretary, Wendy Brown.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
5 votes, it's pretty good.
Aye.
I still, I'm too quick. All right, next item is manager's letter of agreement or contract. We have a copy of it in your pile of information here. Now, let's start by, are there any amendments or changes to it? I think there might have been a discussion about some. Anybody want to suggest any? We've had a copy of this contract, we've looked it over, we've talked about it. Now we're ready to vote on it, but you know, are there any changes to it? We're talking about the, I think we're talking about the 216, and then somebody wants to talk about the 2-year and 1-year contract.
Are you talking about the 1 year or the 2 year?
I just mentioned that.
I
We're
can't,
going to try to.
really hear you, Paul. You
Okay,
gotta
I'm
speak
sorry.
louder.
Thank you for telling me. I'm soft-spoken. Anyway, we have before us a 216, a 1-year contract and a 2-year contract. So I'm going to be addressing first the 1-year contract for this year. Any comments or questions about on the first page? All right, seeing none, let's go to the second page. Any changes or comments on the second page? I have one. And that is, we have a manager's ordinance, and that kind of determines the limits of the contract, because it's law. And it states that, I believe it's basically a 30-year severance pay. And this has,
30 days.
I'm sorry, that's 30 years. Think of the 30-year war. Anyway,
No.
it mentions 30 days. This says 3 months. You know, what do we do?
We had agreed upon 3 months in the previously.
It was my understanding that that contract with him overrules anything
It
that was
does.
specified in the ordinance, correct?
No, I think it's just the opposite.
Attorneys, easy.
The ordinance is the statute's law. I talked to Tim about that. He called me today. I remember this ordinance. Discussion.
I thought we had sort of collectively agreed to 6 weeks at the end of the last executive session.
We talked about 6 weeks, which would be 30 days when you consider a 5-day work week. All right.
But I guess the decision is whether or not the ordinance doesn't in fact trump law.
I believe it does. Todd, do you know the ordinance?
Well, the original, if you recall, was prepared by the township solicitor. And Tim also reviewed this, and he did not raise that as a question, if you recall. Because it does state in here that if there's a discrepancy and not clear on what this agreement states, it then goes back. And then at that point in time, the ordinance takes precedence. So I would think that, given the fact that the township attorney wrote the original agreement, and that our current solicitor, Tim, has reviewed it and has not raised that issue, I don't understand
Okay, all right.
that would be
All right.
one.
I'll make a motion. Well, I'm gonna do this. Somebody may make a motion. Well, we're just talking about the form of this contract right now, the form. And I'll make a motion that we approve it as is with the 3 months. And if our lawyer says later that it can only be whatever, 30 days or 6 weeks, whatever, then we'll have to go back and change it. But right now, we'll approve it as 3 months. All right? So,
You're approving just the draft?
we're just approving, well, we have two,
The 1 year.
we have a 1 year and a 2 year now. But let's stop right here. We're okay with the 1 year as far as the structure of it. Now, is there any interest in a 2-year contract? We have that one here too. We approve one or the other.
I'm in favor of a 2-year
All
contract.
right, okay. Thank you. All right, so that's one person. Okay, well,
I did not think we had increased this to 20 days in executive session. Maybe I missed something, but I didn't think we ever increased the vacation to that extent.
well, what's it say?
It says 20.
It should be 15. What is it?
Under 5?
I think on the 2-year one, we did
Yes,
say.
I'm sorry, I thought you were talking about the 2-year one. I
No,
thought we had
okay.
to-
Yeah, it's 15, we're okay, that's all right. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve a 1-year contract.
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Any further discussion? Call for the vote.
I'll vote aye.
This is just for the 1 year, just for the structure of this,
As it's written.
just for the structure of it.
1 year or 2?
One.
To approve the structure, aye.
Aye. Aye.
I guess at this point, we have Todd wishes to continue. He's the only candidate we have. This is under appointments. Is there a motion to appoint Todd on this contract as our township manager? Can you all hear me? Can you hear me all right?
Do you need to do the approval process for the 2-year one before you I'm confused.
I think we agreed on the 1 year.
Yeah, and therefore, the 2 years is
Irrelevant.
it's not relevant, yeah. Okay, so we'll entertain a motion to reappoint Todd for 1 year.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Aye?
Given some recent discussions, I think I have to say no.
No.
Aye.
Aye.
It passes. All right. Secretary Treasurer, I'll entertain a motion. To appoint Todd as Secretary Treasurer.
So moved.
I'll second it. Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Vote aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Item number 5, reorganization / miscellaneous appointments. I'd like to announce that Earl Shookman has been our emergency management coordinator for the last year or so. He submitted a letter with me resigning from that position.
Last 2 years you've had it,
I said a year or so.
2 years.
Now, we need to reappoint somebody in that position. And if you look at the information that Todd has given us and that Earl sent along in addition, the emergency management coordinator has to work very closely with our road crew and others in the township. And Todd is responsible for the day-to-day activities of our road crew and all the employees for that matter. And so he would be the most likely candidate for that position. So that's just my thought. Anyone else interested, or anybody that you would recommend for the position?
Todd had some insight on that earlier today in an email regarding Sam Walters from Shrewsbury Borough. Yeah.
Eric's store was on the
he-
web page, so I wasn't sure.
I know him. I mean, he's a pretty good man, local businessman and all. I think that's worth looking into before I know we'd like to get things wrapped up, but this was a pretty late, kind of 11th hour resignation.
It was,
we had
yeah.
here too.
Now, do you think he'd be that familiar with our road crew and our roads and everything else that he could, I mean, I like the idea of consolidating, you know.
Well, when it comes to our roads, he can always, if there's an issue with our, as far as the roads, he can always consult Mike as he would have to do anyhow.
Yeah. Well, what's the will?
If I may add, I did talk to Stan today, and he is very interested. He actually serves on Borough Council in Shrewsbury Borough, and he's kind of excited about the idea of the township and the borough doing some kind of joint project. The borough actually has an emergency management command center set up in the borough building already with all the radios activated
That's a good point.
and so forth. And while we have a room, none of the radios or anything are functioning. So it would already be set up. He already has all of his training. He's already been approved by the governor. So he was going to talk to some of his council members. I told him it's going to be a board decision, but he said he'd talk to some of his council members tonight to get a feel from them as well. So we don't have to do any reappointments.
I was going to say, do we have to do a reappointment tonight, or can just wait till
No, this
like
can
next
wait.
month, once we look into it?
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
That's what I prefer to do then.
I agree.
Is this precedented with other, municipalities to share a?
Yeah,
I
actually,
think it would be.
yeah, I talked to Bill James, who heads up this program for the county, and he said it's not uncommon throughout York County for one emergency management coordinator to represent 2 or more municipalities. In fact, he said on the eastern side of the county, there's one EMC that represents 5 municipalities, so it's not uncommon at all.
Well, based on what you've told us and what Jeff and Bill told us, I would suggest we make a motion dependent on accepting the position. That way we don't miss it.
Yeah, because he said he'll get back to me by the end of the week. If he's
If he
interested.
could accept it.
Yeah.
I would like to defer for the month. I agree with Jeff, but, you know, let's take a month and see who's interested. I mean, I'm not discounting him at all. But I think we kind of need to see. And could we clarify this is a volunteer position? Or this is a paid position?
No, it's volunteer.
It's an appointed volunteer.
Certainly, anything that happens in the township or the borough is going to flow over the boundary line, if you will, to the other. So to me, it makes a lot of sense if he's willing, which would put that on one person's
Yeah,
head.
this position for a volunteer, it does involve quite a bit of proactiveness. They've got to do a lot of education and all, so
No.
it's not something you volunteer for and just, you know, hang up the shingle and don't have to do anything. It does involve quite a bit.
Is it likely, what's the probability of having a problem between now and our next meeting?
This is as good as mine. I don't know. We have 83 running through here, so, yeah.
Could we ask you to be interim? I guess that doesn't have to be for a month.
I mean, qualified for it.
He can, he's not qualified.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't have
Well,
a training.
he's qualified, but he's not certified.
That doesn't mean he's not.
I know. Okay, well,
Sorry, Todd.
You had mentioned another individual in Sitesman. Did you get a chance to talk to him at all?
No, but I do recall when he talked, he said he would be willing to help out,
Oh,
but he didn't want,
Okay.
because of his job.
Okay.
But talking to Stan, he also noted that if he takes a position, he would ask us to put something in the newsletter seeking volunteers to assist with this as well.
now you're gonna talk to him later this week.
Yeah, he said he'll contact me by the end of this
What's he
week.
expecting to hear from us? That we appointed him, or that we're interested in appointing him, or?
Just if there's interest in him,
Okay.
serving and.
All right.
Well, I mean,
Sounds like there
does
is,
the
but
Shrewsbury Borough have to agree to this or not?
they do not need to now.
Okay.
No, he could serve each municipality separately. I think it would make more sense if that Shrewsbury Borough is interested in doing it jointly, we'd have to have an intergovernmental agreement. But it would make sense if they already had a command center set up in the borough building.
They'd be ahead of us.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we have to vote on,
No, we don't need to
so,
tonight.
but you, I think the board is in agreement to have you call him and tell him we're very much interested.
Okay.
Is that correct? All right. Move on.
We actually, if I can interject here, we should have a motion and a second and vote on accepting the resignation now.
Yeah, sure, right. Is there a motion to accept Earl Strickland's resignation?
So moved.
I'll second.
Bill seconded. No further discussion. Call for the vote.
Vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Resolution number 316-01, appointment of employees and setting of wages and benefits for 2016.
I'll make a motion to accept that.
Second.
Could I ask a question
Question,
first,
sure.
or interject something here?
Discussion, now it's time for discussion.
I didn't know that we had agreed to increase the office intern from the previous by 50 cents when we were doing 1.5% for the employees. Is that, it's just a question, is that what everybody wants to do?
Okay.
I didn't think that we had actually talked about that, and it seemed like in your email that you said.
Yeah, I don't recall. We've had a lot of
lengthy
discussion about, yeah.
So just a clarification.
This is a seasonal worker.
Yes, our part-time office, you
Just summer months.
Yeah, and it's 12, this making us $12 an hour.
know, 8.
No, 8 for the office.
It was 750.
Well, that's the office intern, I was looking at the,
And so if we did the same percentage, it would be the 761. We did the same percentages for the employees.
all right, well, anybody else have any questions about, other than that question? What's the will of the board?
Leave it as we have it.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm okay with the $8 an hour.
Okay. All right, then it's going to be $8 an hour as stated on here. Any other questions, issues? Otherwise, I'll call for the vote.
I vote aye.
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 Next resolution. Appointment of township representatives. You have that page in your packet. Any questions with anybody that's being appointed or will be appointed? I have one thing. I'd like us to consider a new CPA, not this year, but in the coming year. So that's not going to change anything on this page, but I want that to be in the minutes.
If we're going to consider that, does it make more sense to do that maybe June 30th, mid-year or something, as opposed to at the end of a fiscal year as opposed to in
Well,
January?
I thought we'd do it maybe before the budget's put together sometime, maybe not June, but July or August. But it follows your idea, yeah.
And I think that's a good idea.
And then we can see if it's going to cost more, and we'll hopefully get some good firms to consider. I think once in a while it's good to have someone else, a different set of eyes come in and look over our books.
I think you're right.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution 2016-02.
So moved.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oh, I'm sorry. You were in all in favor instead of let's vote.
Okay. Aye. Right, you voted aye. I voted aye. Bill, Jeff voted aye. 5 ayes. If you're confused. Next item is designation of financial institutions. We have a number of financial institutions that handle different funds and accounts. So every year we need to reappoint them. So I'll entertain a motion to reappoint these 3 institutions that are on this page.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 I'll just read them off to you. People's Bank handles certain accounts. Pliget, which is a state organization, it's a government investment organization, they handle some of our accounts. And finally, BB&T Bank, formerly Susquehanna Bank, handles the rest. Next item, the resolution 216-04. Board, commission, and committee appointments.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that. Good.
I'll second.
Now, Earl Strickland's still on here, so
Without exception.
We'll update that before we get to signatures.
just be aware of that. Any further discussion on this? I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, next item is 2016-05, setting the various fees for this year. We have a huge packet here. This is
I'll make a motion to adopt.
I'll second.
discussion. I have a question. All the fees remain the same.
Yeah, the only thing, if you recall, on, I believe was the last page, on page 6, regarding transferable development rights.
Okay.
We added that last section for the transfer development rights is $150, unless it's in conjunction with a development right verification.
Thank you.
That's anything that's different.
This is in addition. All the other fees stay the same.
Yes.
The attachment 6,
Mhm.
the maintenance department fee schedule,
Yes.
just for my own notification, when do those come into play? Is that like if there's damage or something, vandalism or something like that, then it comes in, or?
This would be like if we're doing some work, particularly for another municipality,
Oh,
because we do some work sometimes for Railroad Borough, Glenrock Borough. Rare occasion, we help out Shrewsbury Township.
and when is the last time we made any
You mean
adjustment to
Shrewsbury
these?
Borough?
Shrewsbury, what did I say, Township?
Oh, it's not rare.
Borough.
Any idea?
No, I do not. There's one thing we have to take a look at this includes operator, and we talked about in executive session about putting together that sheet on the actual cost, which I plan to do here in the next month, and
Right,
then
that's why I'm
then we
wondering
can
if
take
we need
another
to
look at this.
revisit attachment 6 before we just.
We can always amend that later.
Leanne, how do you feel about it? Later?
Sure.
Thank you. We also help, we also work with other townships and so forth. We do work for them and they do work for us sometimes, so we have that also. Right.
Yeah.
We have certain pieces of equipment that they don't have and vice versa, so instead of buying equipment for every little thing, we work together with local governments. Now, turn the page. That's part of it. Item number.
Did we vote the resolution?
Well, that's okay. Say that
No, I was asking, I heard a first and a second, but I don't think there was an actual
Okay,
vote.
I'll call for that actual vote.
So would I.
Second, please.
Aye.
Aye.
With the revisiting,
That's the one.
with the revisiting to amend later.
Next item would be approval of minutes. And we have, the last meeting, we had a deadlock in approval of minutes. That's for the December 2nd meeting. But before we get to that, we have, that's for the November 4th, 2015 minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve them as was submitted by the staff.
Is there a second?
Art, did you want to comment or no?
I don't comment, but go ahead.
That's
Do you
a
have any-
question.
Can we make another motion if that doesn't get a second?
If that doesn't get a second, so.
I make a motion that we accept them with change number 1 incorporated. And that was a comment by a public comment, which we probably should note.
We're required to include a reference to all public comment. We cannot ignore them. We may summarize it or whatever, but we have to put it in, so I would agree with that.
So your change is only to accept one change and not all changes as
Correct. My motion is to accept change number 1 only.
in the manager's section
Yeah,
and not change number 2?
That's correct.
Okay.
all right, well, you made a motion, is there a second?
I'll second, that's consistent with what we learned in our little supervisor training session.
Oh,
So,
there you go. It's paying dividends already. That's one, okay, well, there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote.
I'll vote aye.
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 Opposed? Now we go to the, that was November 4, December 2nd. What was our issue with this?
No, 1 minute.
Okay, I wasn't not sure.
First time, that's fine.
Yes, it would be, thank you. I'll make we need to make a motion to approve the December 2nd meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve these minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. I'd like to make a comment by Mike. We did work at Forest Lakes as far as the roads were concerned. And the price for that work is in here on page 5 of 6. It's almost $36,000. I want to mention though that we were going to restore or improve or repave those roads, but we waited until they got through putting in the store line. so we wouldn't destroy what we would do with resurfacing the road. So this is not, this is money that would have been spent, a lot of it in any case. All right. There were motion and a second, I'll call for a vote.
Aye.
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 Treasury report for December 2015. And there's one minor change, or other than that, we'll entertain a motion to approve this treasury report. None of this.
I'll make a motion. Approve it.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Now, item number 8 on our agenda, public comment on any subject you wish to talk about. Just come up here and identify yourself. Tell us where you live, if you would, please. Phil?
My name is Phil Andre, I live on Rule Road. I ain't been around here in 2 years. I know you guys know I haven't been to a meeting in 2 years. Just one little thing I'd like to bring up. I think people know it's a 5-member board. 2 years ago, I asked if I could be on the planning commission. Paul was coming off and Jeff was coming off. Paul told me to have a meeting in his living room. Paul was there, Mr. Cox was there, and Sue Fox was there. A week later, Paul called me and he said, Phil, I'd like you to come back over, I'd like to give you the news. You weren't the one that we picked. I said, okay, could you tell me the person that you picked? We picked Mr. Brown, the guy that lives behind Mr. Cox. I said, okay. A couple of days later, I talked to Sue Fox. I asked her, I said, Sue, you know, why did they pick me? She said, Phil, you couldn't get that third vote. Mr. Cox wouldn't vote for you. What I'd like to bring up tonight, it's a 5-member board. That gentleman there was not asked, and Cynthia was not asked. Can I get an answer to that, Paul?
What kind of question? What's your...
It's a 5-member board.
It is.
I met in your house.
Right.
I'm sorry, meaning this board or planning commission?
No,
Lost me.
the board of supervisors.
The board of supervisors, Paul took himself off the planning commission and took Jeff on, okay? I asked if I could be on the planning commission. I was told to meet over at Paul's house for an interview. Bill Cox was there, Paul was there, and Sue Fox was there. I called Sue a couple of days later and I said, what happened? How come I didn't get it? She said, because Mr. Cox wanted his neighbor to have it. That's what Sue Fox told me. I just hope this new board is run a little bit nicer than what was done to me. I used to come to every meeting, I've been around, I've seen some stuff that I haven't liked. I haven't been around for 2 years, but I wanted to come tonight to tell Mr. Cox that you weren't saying that when I campaigned for you.
Phil, what you're saying is one person
One person, you.
commanded the vote of 3 people is what you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
they told me that you didn't vote for me, so
Thank you.
your neighbor got it.
Okay.
Why wasn't Jeff asked, and why wasn't Cynthia asked?
Let me explain something, Phil.
Huh?
When we're getting ready to appoint people to planning commission, any other opening, any member of this, I go around sometimes and I ask people, would you be willing to serve, would you be interested in being interviewed? I want to get the best people we can on the planning commission or whatever board or commission we're talking about, okay?
Right.
So we have to do some homework.
Exactly.
So I invited you to my house to see what your interests were and to see,
Right,
you know, to get some feel.
right. I'm not trying to step on your toes, Paul, but it's a 5-member board. And Mr. Jeff Reynolds was chairman, and he got knocked out of chairman. He got knocked off the planning commission. You came off the planning commission. There were 6 people on the planning commission, and now it's down to 5.
Right.
I would have been a good planner, I thought, Paul.
Phil, you're making me out to be the bad guy. I'm still trying to get clear on this. One person, me,
That's what Sue Fox
overruled
told me.
4 people that were interested in having you on the planning commission.
No, not.
Okay, thank you. I just want to get clear on that, Phil.
Sue Fox said,
Whoa.
Sue Fox said that you said no.
at
Okay,
that
so one
meeting,
person.
That's all I wanted.
Thank you.
That's all I want to
I
say.
treat you as...
Thanks for clarifying that.
Phil, go ahead. I treated you with the utmost respect.
I treat you with the utmost respect. I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes, Paul, but I'd like Art and Ann to know it's a 5-member board. And Jeff agrees with me. It's a 5-member board, and it should be 5 people's opinion. I've seen some things go on. I've been around 38 years, Paul. I was around here before you came around. I was around when Joe Everly was the chairman. I've seen some shady stuff happen. I don't want to see it anymore.
But I will continue to encourage citizens to become interested in various boards and
Right.
commissions.
And I was.
I can do it on the telephone, or I can have them stop by my house to discuss with them if they're interested in what their responsibility is.
Right.
Okay?
Did you ask Jeff about me?
And Jeff Allen could have initiated his own group of people to see if they're interested in.
It was a done deal when I walked in, Paul, you know that.
You're wrong.
Mr. Chuckman told me that. Mr. Chuckman said that Mr. Cox had a neighbor, and it was done. That's what Mr. Chuckman told me.
I don't know.
Phil, that wasn't, my position on that is as you say. But how did I carry 5 people by
You
myself?
didn't carry 5, you only had to carry 2,
Okay,
Paul and Sue.
okay.
Why don't you, Phil?
I'm-
Then we're gonna move on, but you can
Yeah,
always,
move on.
anybody,
I just wanted to
I'd like to finish here, Paul. You don't mind.
Okay.
Okay? I felt Bob Brown was a better candidate than you.
That
And I'm
was your-
sorry if it hurt your feelings.
It didn't hurt my feelings.
You've never talked to me
That was
about
your-
it.
that was
I
your
would have
vote.
told you that if you'd ever asked me, okay?
That was your vote,
Right.
okay?
And one other thing,
But there was Cynthia and Jeff were there.
But, you know, you come up here and say that you supported my campaign and make it sound like I owe that to you.
No,
I don't want to go there.
I'm not saying you owe me nothing.
Okay?
Phil, anybody can come to this meeting anytime.
And come up there to that mic and say what they
And
want to
say,
say.
I'm gonna be
right?
on the planning commission and talk to the board. You could have done that. Let's move on. Anybody else who wishes to address the board? We'll move on. Ordinances and resolutions. We have a manager ordinance amendments in front of us. This is an ordinance is like the law. Yeah. What do you want to do with this? You know, we're going to make a motion. Well, we made several changes in this document. It's a 3-page document, actually more than 3 changes. But, anybody disagree with any of the changes that were made? And if they're no,
I just wanted to raise a point or two. I had sent an email to all of you this afternoon. I don't know if anybody had a chance to see it. Todd was the only one that I saw a response to, but I haven't been in email since about 2 o'clock. So I just asked if we wanted to think about including a requirement for the manager to reside in the township. It's totally just a question, but it was something I wanted us to consider before we advertise this. And under the performance evaluation section on page 2, it says the annual performance evaluation of the township manager shall be initiated and conducted by the Board of Supervisors. And my thought was to put in there a majority of the Board of Supervisors.
this is 1-506.
I think we need to leave it as it is in that respect. I think the manager is owed an evaluation each year.
Agreed?
What's your suggestion again? Ann?
Just include a majority of.
I said it's done regardless.
So just.
By majority of the board?
Majority of the Board of
Yeah.
Supervisors. Just a thought.
I think that's pretty much listed in here. Anybody want to discuss that suggestion?
To have a quorum on, we need a majority. It's pretty much already covered, correct?
Yes, I
I
mean,
think.
uh,
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I was going to say the last evaluation, which was just conducted in November, I believe it was. Bill was, of course, incapacitated, couldn't attend. There were 2 board members that chose not to participate, which only left 2 remaining board members that could conduct the performance evaluation. And the question was raised by those 2 whether they could do that. And I talked to the solicitor, Tim Buck, and he said if they were the only 2 that are available and willing to do it, they could do it.
That's-
because the opportunity was there for the others, so.
Right, that's fine.
So,
I don't know if we really need that for an evaluation.
That's fair.
Yeah,
If he's being evaluated by 2/5
well,
of the board, I'm not sure that's fair.
I wish
Well,
to
it is
participate,
if
I
the
couldn't
others
be
don't
there,
wish to
but
participate.
when people don't want to participate, you know, I think they give up their say in the, you know, in the evaluation at that point.
One of the reasons this change was made, they came, the Board of Supervisors would initiate and conduct the evaluation because we're the employer and the employees are not initiated. Todd was only doing that practice was in place for a long time, so Todd wasn't really totally out of place when he did that, but my feeling was that, and I told Jeff at the time, I said, that you and Cynthia, please complete your report and give it to Todd, so, anyway. Getting back to the document, any other changes or questions or whatever else? Otherwise, we're going to approve it to be advertised.
I'll make a motion to approve the advertising.
I'll need to back up a second. I do have one small change, and it's on page, on the third page. It says, manager shall in conjunction with, in addition to, manage in conjunction with, in addition to preparation of the yearly budget, develop a 5-year budget. We're talking about a 5-year capital budget.
Right,
As compared to a
yeah.
regular budget. I'm just suggesting put capital before budget on the second line and on the third line. Just to clarify, this is not part of the budget process. It's a capital budget. What are our needs over the 5 years?
Well, that's with the understanding, I thought we were gonna do a full 5-year budget, which would include a capital improvement schedule. Because we have, you know, we really should look where our full financial picture is, not just with capital improvements, but, you know, wages, benefits, you know, parks, what have you. Yeah.
Okay, well.
Because it does include language that it shall include a capital improvements schedule.
All right, then we'll just drop that suggestion and then we'll call for a motion to approve this.
I already made a motion.
Okay, is it your second? Any second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
I'll vote aye.
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 All right, under subdivision and land development. Chestnut Commerce. Todd, you want to lead us in this discussion?
First item is waiver requests, and then we'll go on to the final subdivision plan. And I apologize, there's an awful lot of lines on this plan. Try to understand what's going on here. This is 83, this is Tawna Road, this is Main Street in Shrewsbury over here. And then this is Elm Drive, which takes you out to 851. Some of you may recall the cemetery that was once here and the Keeney Farm up in this area here. Chestnut Commerce is proposing to subdivide this parcel. It's this parcel here, here, and then there's some over here as well. This is in conjunction with the land development plan, which is the next item on the agenda, which would be Lot 2 right here. So the subdivision is to subdivide these lots and this lot over here, and then Lot 2 would be sold to York Adams Transportation Authority for a park and ride. So with that in mind, there are, I guess we have 4 waiver requests here. First waiver request is to not do the widening of the street to 36 feet. And what was discussed in staff as well as planning commission is the developer does not want to do that at this point in time because there are some ideas floating around here regarding the development of this tract into a large commercial tract. And in fact, some of the roadway may actually change locations as to where it's at now. The requirement of curbs, again, there's no curbs currently on that street. And again, we don't know what's happening on the other parcels that are all vacant. Again, requirement of sidewalks and the requirement of street trees. This has been through staff review and it's been to Planning Commission. Both have recommended approval. And for the two new board members in the audience, when it goes to staff review, which consists of township engineer, rep from York County Planning Commission, our zoning officer, and myself, we make a recommendation to the Planning Commission, and then the Planning Commission reviews it, and they make a recommendation to the board, and then the board has the final determination on that. So for that reason, because we don't know what's going to happen with these other parcels, we felt that they were acceptable waiver requests. So that would be the first step, for you to accept them as presented, or...
So I just had a question. When I look back at some of the earlier minutes, it says at the March 4th meeting, the Board of Supervisors approved the requested waivers. Are those a different set for Chestnut Commerce Center?
They probably are. Yeah. Phil's
It's a
here,
different
yes.
set?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, the street tree, they'll be taken care of as each of the lots is developed.
That is correct, yes.
And the widening, how would that take place?
That would take place as well when each lot, because each lot would require a land development plan, because of being commercial in nature.
So, that's going to be a little awkward. Right now, we have a parking ride going in, and they're not going to widen that road at this time.
That's correct.
So, why wouldn't they widen it now, like what you say?
Let me just look here.
I just want to see how this is going to play out.
There is, and I can, when we get to the land development plan, let me see if this here shows me. Yeah, there's a little widening, but it's very minimal at this point. Yeah.
I can address all that, if you
Please.
The widening is on the lot that's being developed right now, and even that is an assumption that Elm Drive is going to stay where it is. There's a lot, one of the other requests that was made was for additional right-of-way. For, if you go back to our plan, right now you can see the two
Phil.
Please.
Yeah.
Don't shoot it at airplanes.
the two pieces of Elm Drive don't line. There's a railroad crossing here when Elm Drive was built and widened in the initial stage. That railroad crossing stayed at the same location and it didn't line with the addition road across the street. What you see right here is additional right-of-way that we've allocated. There were a couple questions that came up with this whole project, and one of them was this realignment. And the theory was that we would give that additional right-of-way now, which this plan does, so that this road can be relocated if in fact that's where it's going to be when this property is developed. It may be, it's going to be at least 2 years, and I've owned this property since '92 trying to develop it, so that's 24 years that it hasn't been developed. Right now, the road's 30 foot wide. It's more than wide enough to handle the only development that's occurring, which is the park and ride. And until we know for sure that this road is going to stay here with any reconfiguration, it doesn't make sense to widen it 36 more foot when it's not going to have any additional traffic. The right-of-way is there. Anyone that comes in to develop Lot 1 is going to have to widen the road. It's that simple. Lot 1 in itself is going to justify the widening of the road, and the right-of-way is there to do that. Until that happens, it's still being used as a cornfield. And it doesn't make sense to put sidewalks in a cornfield or curbs or street trees on a cornfield. And it doesn't make sense to widen the road 6 foot more when you don't know that's where it's going to stay for the long term.
Lot 1 is a very large lot. What is it?
It's 27 acres.
There's 80 some acres in the back.
Actually, there's closer to 100 acres in the total tract, I think. I don't even remember, but that tract is 27 acres. That's where any development is going to happen, probably our lifetimes. And when that happens, that's when the road would be widened and it would be reconfigured, it would be designed to fit that development. And it just doesn't make sense to do, it wouldn't be affordable. It would cost more to do it than the lot is.
Yeah, this is a blow up of that area for the right
How
of
does
way.
the bus traffic work now, Phil?
Excuse me?
How will the bus traffic work now with the existing road?
Well, it's a 30-foot wide
So
road,
that's
it's
all
more
plenty
than,
of room for turns and all of
Oh,
that.
yeah.
stuff.
yeah. And that's probably wider than a lot of this, it's wider than a lot of the state roads in the area. So there's plenty of width there. It's just that your ordinance, once it's called a collector, it is a collector. By ordinance, it needs to be 36 foot because it is a collector. And that's why we need the waiver, because when it was built at 30 foot. And your ordinance now requires it to be 36 foot to be a collector.
This has gone to the staff, our engineer and so forth, then it's gone to the planning commission. And, so we trust on their good services as well as, we don't understand anything, but we do look over it pretty carefully. So he's asking for waivers that are listed here. And so I'll entertain a motion to approve these waivers.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Vote aye.
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 Okay, next item
Close them all.
is we just referenced this, the York Adams Transportation Authority,
You have to do the planning board.
the final subdivision. We have to approve the final subdivision, this is the 5 lot, but I think it's.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Hang on a minute. That's all part of this back and chart. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
No, this is for the plan itself, correct?
Yes, yes.
Can you amend your motion to include the outstanding comments on CS Davidson's
Sure.
comments dated October 27th?
Go ahead. Rich.
Yes, I'll make that motion to accept it, with the
Outstanding
comments by
comments from,
station
yeah, October 27th.
Yeah.
Okay, with that amendment, I'll call for the vote. We've had a second.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Vote aye.
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 Thank you.
Okay, York Adams Transportation Authority, this is the parking and ride. We have a waiver request. Yes, President, a waiver request.
Yeah, I apologize. When I hit close, I closed everything.
Okay. And is there a motion to approve the waiver? Todd, why don't you go over the waiver request with us?
Sure. The waiver request that we're looking at, and it's just one here, has to do with the maximum permitted side slopes. And again, that went through the staff as well as planning commission, and that's mainly back here, and correct me if I'm wrong, back here in the area, particularly in this area.
To the basements to the right. Right there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me see if I can pull that down here. And if you gentlemen want to come up and address this at all, feel free.
Introduce yourselves and,
I'm Andy Mears with JMT, and with me tonight is Rich Barr, the Executive Director for York Adams Transportation Authority. The waiver for the basin is really a result of the confinement by the critical environmental area. We're not allowed to do any grading or any earth moving, and because of the size of the basin and our parameters, we had to change the side slopes after we did the calculations to get the right storage.
understood.
Yep, right.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not used to all the pages on one
Oh, no
file.
problem.
So when you go to scroll up, it wants to jump to the next page.
This is the critical environmental area here. So, you can see we're right up against that area. We're not allowed to do any work in there. The basin was graded at 4 to 1 slopes per your ordinance, but in order to get the volumes for the basin to work, we have to go 3 to 1, which really doesn't, we had a geotechnical report done, and the slopes are stable, so.
Your explanation of occupation is very good.
Okay.
This homework packet.
Okay.
All right. So, we're ready to approve the waivers.
I'll make a motion, we approve the waiver.
In a second.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Next, we have a Department of Environmental Protection Sewage Planning and Modular request for a waiver as a non-building declaration. So I'll just explain to everybody what that all that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what it really is when you develop a lot and you're going to put either public sewer on or an on-lot septic system, you have to submit a plan to DEP how you're gonna handle your sewage. Because there's no facilities on here that will generate wastewater, there's no need to have a plan approved by DEP. However, they still make you submit a form, which is called the non-building waiver and non-building declaration. So it's more of a formality that we acknowledge that this subdivision, this land development is going to occur, and we're acknowledging that there's going to be no facilities that will generate wastewater.
Okay, we're ready to vote for a waiver for the planning module. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Finally, on this heading, final land development, we're going to approve the plan.
Again, if the board is comfortable with that, that would, I would ask that your motion would be contingent upon all the outstanding comments on C.S. Davidson's letter dated November
Thank you, that's a
25th.
very important point. Thanks, Todd. So I'll make the motion to approve the final development plan, subject to them meeting all the requirements as outlined by C.S. Davidson.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item number 11 under reports. Todd, you go first.
All right, excuse me, under manager's report, just a couple of things to highlight, and I'll certainly answer any questions you have. I didn't check with Mike today. Groves Road, if it's not open, it should be open here by the end of the week. With the new pipe that was put in, it was a much larger diameter, so he had to actually build the road up to give enough clearance between the top of the pipe and the finished road surface. As everyone's probably aware, York County Solid Waste Authority, while we collected electronic recyclables here at the township building, and there's other municipalities that collected them as well, they all went up to York County Solid Waste Authority, and then they had the contract to actually dispose of that. That contract, they thought they had in place for the end of the year. That fell through. We received a phone call on a Friday afternoon telling us that they may not have a contract next week. They called us Monday morning and said, if you want to get rid of what you have it up here by noontime. So we didn't have much notice. So at this point in time, excuse me, they're trying to get a contract, but they're having a lot of difficulty with it. So no one's accepting electronic recycling at this point in time, which I know is tough when you can't put it out for your trash and you have nowhere to recycle. But part of the problem is, while recycling is good and it's important, the market has become so flooded because Pennsylvania has made it mandatory, and there's not a lot of vendors or recyclers out there. So what the county is asking is that everyone hang on to their recycling for a couple of weeks here, and they're hoping that they can get something in place very soon. So as soon as we know of something, we'll certainly post it on our website, and you can call into the township office as well. And the only other thing I just want to point out, I know April sounds like it's a long way off, but it's not. I did give you information on the State Association of Township Supervisors Conference The earlier we can get that in, the better we get a discount for an early registration.
Thank you.
So I don't know if anyone had any other questions?
I mean, question, Todd, about the Miller Park Drive that goes from House Avenue back to our park. And we've been fighting to get, and there's red oak and locust tree that are planted, street trees. And they are not doing, well, most of them are doing all right, but some have died. We've had a hard time getting replaced. We have islands in our park itself where we need to, I think we need to put 4 trees in there. These are shade trees. And then we have a number of trees, a handful of trees out along Miller Park Drive. And there's more than just the one. I think there's some others that have died.
Since our initial,
Yeah. I wondered if you could talk to our attorney and see how we could work with the landowner there to get those trees replaced. Maybe our crew could put them in very quickly if they would purchase them, but we need to make sure what's living, what's not living, and replace those trees early next spring.
Who is the landowner?
YMCA
Okay.
and DAC Development, 2 landowners. He goes into, and of course, we own land along the road as they get down towards the park, but not much. Well, whatever we don't own land along the road.
no, actually we don't, that
As
would
we
be
get to the
that.
park, although we have planted trees. Okay, well, could you just check and see how we can?
Yeah, I'll follow up with you.
Thank you. All right.
Did the path
Paul,
distance sign?
yes.
I just took notice of something here.
Yeah.
Spring 2016, your state, there's something here about remove cherry trees, and then about to kill the stump, use half Roundup and half water to kill stump. Roundup isn't gonna do you anything on that stump at all. Roundup works by going in and blocking the sunlight and killing the plant. So I think you ought to hunt something else to kill it, and something that does actually help kill the stumps. It's stuff called spike, but using Roundup is senseless.
I have been using it for years.
It doesn't do you any.
It does.
No.
Landscapers do not use it
I
anymore.
don't care.
Roundup does not work for that purpose. It blocks. It is what spike. It goes into the root
Okay,
system.
well, I don't care what you spot.
I'm just saying, making a recommendation to you that maybe you ought to look at something else, because that's not the intended purpose of Roundup.
If you put it on a cambium layer, I've had very good success with that. But anyway, if you want, when you spike, you spike. It doesn't matter as long as the trees, as long as you treat the stump. So your principle well made. So I'll leave that up to Todd and the maintenance people to determine what they want to use.
Did we get our signage in?
I did not check with the road crew. I know they were gonna be making the sign last night, between Christmas and New Year, so I'll have to check to see if it actually got put up, but, I would assume that it did, but, I'll verify that.
What sign says?
It says
For the,
under 5, it says install path distance signage by December 31st.
Right, yeah.
And I just was curious if that happened.
We'll work on it. All right, move on. Anything else, Todd? Any
No, that's all I
have. Todd, all right. Sanitary sewer, Todd. What's the progress there? And this is for the Sykeston Sewer Project.
Yeah, as you know, there's 16 properties that are involved. 14 have secured their permits, just about all of them have been installed. We have one pending permit, and the reason we say it's pending, the property owner is very cooperative. He just has a contractor that's dragging his feet a little bit, so we're trying to help him to get his contractor moving. And then we have one that has not applied for a permit, and I anticipate that we will probably place a lien on that property because it's bank owned. It's the one there on the corner of Baltimore Street and Pleasant Valley Road. It's been vacant for probably going on 5 years. So that's been moving along well. The water meter issue has been resolved as of today. So it's been taken care of. And that's all I have. Just an FYI, Glen Rock Sewer Authority provided us with their budget, and that's a cash. So there's nothing you need to do with that.
Okay. Item C, solicitors report. Did you?
Tim called, he had no report for this month.
Zoning officer, code enforcement officer, sewage enforcement, all one person, all one office. We have that, any questions on that? Do we have that? Do we have that?
Yeah, that was just, Keith's office was closed all last week, so
We didn't get
we
that.
didn't have it.
Anything that you know of that's critical?
I think it's laying at your seat.
It's here, we have it.
Yeah.
Any questions regarding that? He just listed, we're not to inspect this, we're not to inspect that, respond to a concern or question or comment. So it lists all his activities for the month. Okay, any questions about this report? Otherwise, we'll move on. Maintenance, you have that report. Engineering, we have his report. Give his report part of our back. And the next report will be the planning commission. We have their minutes here, copy of their minutes. Any questions about the planning commission report? The engineer's report. Any questions about that? None? Okay, move on. Planning commission, nothing about the planning commission. Any questions about that? No.
Back to the engineering report, was the Exelon grant submitted?
Yeah.
Yes, it was due to get signed for that last week.
Good question. Can we get a copy of that?
Yeah. If I can.
This is a grant application for, and it's not a grant that we have to contribute. It costs part of the cost. It's a grant, if we get it, it'll encompass the whole project.
When do we hear about that?
That they don't give, no. Ask
There's
Paul,
no
the
time.
last time around, they did not give any time period when they make announcements, so.
Would you summarize the project over there between Wolf Road and?
Yeah, it would be between, what we applied for is the wetlands in front of Cracker Barrel, along 851, between 83 and Wolf Road, is to make improvements to that area. And our grant mainly is to add new native plants and get rid of the invasive plants to allow the plants to do their job with the stormwater when we come down through there. Then eventually another phase is when you're on the east side of Wolf Road is where we would then put in like a detention area to help capture from some of that stormwater to release it slowly into Deer Creek. So it's not a full surge.
Thank you. All the stormwater that comes off of the Walmart shopping center, Starbucks, all that area comes onto one pipe under 83. So it's very convenient to capture that stormwater and somehow disperse it so it doesn't just run down the channel and cause damage to the banks and also increase the water temperature and so forth. That Deer Creek is a cold water fish creek. It has trout in it in certain places, so we're interested in maintaining that stream. Okay, move on. Supervisor comments. Start with you, anybody have any
Not
comments?
this time.
We had the changes to the burn permit or the ordinances, so Todd and I had a little email exchange about that today. We have the correct number. I think he gave that to us so that we can take a look at it for next time, just to make sure we get the correct information out to the public.
Okay, thank you. I see where Manor Township in Lancaster County, they have a leaf composting facility. It could also be grass composting facility, where residents drop off grass and leaves for composting, and then people can come back and purchase the compost after it's ready for use for $10 a square yard. I would just suggest that maybe we have Todd just find out more about that program, but if there's interest, I mean.
Where's this?
What township?
Manor Township in Lancaster County has this program. Big question I have is, and the numbers here, is how successful are they? I mean, is it working? And
Mhm.
so I'm gonna leave this here.
Okay.
Would you mind if I make a call on that? Session. That right there. Now, we had talked about, instead of using in-house help with our parks, which basically the road crew helps with the parks, we need to maybe get some outside help with that. I think it was one year I did, Jeff. Anyway, anyway, with the park, we talked about improving the wood lot, putting a trail around the wood lot and all that. And putting it in
Yeah, that's actually in the budget.
It's in the budget, okay.
And we talked about like the tree pruning and the mulching and so forth, and by next meeting, I will have some cost estimates for local lawn care.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I think it'd be easier for you and for our road crew if we had some outside help, provided we can afford the cost. Okay, let's move on. Oh, and the rain garden, we're putting in an additional parking in that park, and they're gonna try to get to it this winter if they can, I guess, what they thought.
Correct.
At Miller?
At Miller Park, and the rain garden will be between the old parking lot and the new parking lot.
Yeah, this would be in conjunction with the new parking lot that's being built. It's an expansion of the existing lot.
And we talked about a rain garden, which would accommodate some of the water coming off the new parking area. And also be very attractive as far as the landscape is concerned. Old business. You want to jump in here and help us?
Yeah, the only thing is, if you recall at our December meeting, we talked a little bit about the failing stream culvert here at 2026 Windy Hill Road. As you know, we've reached out to the town, or I'm sorry, to DEP, and they've been down, they've done some inspections, and verbally they told us that they felt that there was really no issues there. They didn't see any failing of the covered culvert, which is a stacked stone wall with a concrete slab on top of it. It runs approximately 100 feet long. But there are areas along the side where the stone has fallen in. You can see down into the stream. You can see some rock piles down in there. Since our last meeting, DEP followed up with a letter stating what I reported at that meeting. Now they did address the letter to the property owner, which is currently the bank. And you know, they're basically saying you have a responsibility to maintain it. However, there's nothing that under state statutes that we can force you to do it at this point in time. So I had followed up then with Senator Wagner with his office, and asked them if they could look into that because, you know, as you know, it's clearly failing. We get one or two good rains, it's gonna, I think, really gonna start to go. Anyway, they followed up with it and they spoke with some folks at DEP, and DEP said that the bank just needs to monitor the property, and if the structure collapses, then it's their responsibility to repair the damages. And as you know, we were hoping to prevent the total collapse, which in turn is going to cause some serious flooding in the area. So I'm optimistic based on what the previous realtor told me that they took the listing from them because they didn't move fast enough in getting a cost estimate to make the repairs. So that leads me to believe that they understand it's important and it needs to be addressed. And I would think that this is something, certainly I wouldn't think, this is something they're going to have to disclose. So they're either going to have to disclose it or they're going to have to make the repairs. So I'm optimistic that we will see something happen with the bank. How soon and to what degree, that I don't know.
I think you've done everything you can do to notify the responsible parties.
Yeah.
And the monkey's on their back, and they know that we know.
Right.
So
The DEP is aware of it, so.
Thank you. New business. The budget, 216, budget amendment.
This is just under the state township code. It is the opportunity at the January meeting following the last municipal election that the budget can be reopened, particularly given that there's new board members. So I put that on the agenda. If everyone's satisfied with the current budget, there's no action required and we can move on to the next item.
Any interest?
No interest.
Okay.
I'm good.
By the way, Bill is our miracle boy. He had a double lung transplant. And he's back and he's working hard and like the miracle boy here. I don't want to embarrass you, Bill, but I had to point that out. Anyway, and I want to recognize Pat Farrow, long-term involvement with Shrewsbury Township in every known capacity. Planning Commission, Board of Supervisors, various committees. So nice to see you, Pat. Happy New Year to you. I have one suggestion. We budget about $5,000 a year for landscaping, and we usually spend half or less. And we only spent about half of this past year. So we transfer that half into bring it over to the new budget.
You could only do that through budgeting, so we would have had to increase that to 7,500.
Well, we can do
yeah.
that. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, in order to do that, you're probably better if we just do a line item transfer at some point.
Okay,
Yeah, instead of reopening the entire budget, because you would have to re-advertise it.
I understand. All right.
Yeah,
This is the only item we have, and it wouldn't make any sense.
yeah, right.
We'll do it that way. Okay, all right. Moving on. Code administration agreement. You all have a copy of that. Keith Hunnings is our code enforcement officer. For the first time, he's given us a formal agreement.
Yeah.
And there was one question regarding that agreement, and that had to do with insurance.
Right. Yeah, Keith is actually, it's not just Shrewsbury Township, so we shouldn't take any offense. It's actually all of his clients. And the only question, we had it reviewed by our solicitor, and he was okay with it. He, of course, suggested that we have our insurance company review it, which we did. And the only comment they came back with was in paragraph 10 regarding insurance, where they recommended that South Penn include Shrewsbury Township as an additional insured on their commercial liability and auto policies. And that note was added, that line was added to the agreement. So if and when this is executed, we'll then receive that certificate.
So we are not at risk.
Well, we're always at risk, but it would go to his insurance first.
Okay.
Yeah.